Well, good morning, and welcome to the second of our two-part series, How to Be Rich. Last time, you'll remember, we looked at the fact that you and I are rich. We were born rich. When we were born into this country at this time. We won the lottery. When you were born in the fourth wealthiest nation in the history of the world. And with a fairly equal spread of wealth. I know there's a big difference between the very rich and the very poor in this country. But generally speaking, most people are hunched up in the middle. There's just one or two, 11 England footballers, a few big bankers making big bucks. But the majority of us earn a reasonable amount. The average income in this country is £24,000, and that buys us more than our grandparents' generation could ever have dreamt. The amount of money that the average person earns in this country for doing the average job doubles every 25 to 30 years. So those of us who are in our 50s, it's doubled and doubled again since we were born. So somebody doing your job 50 years ago would have got a quarter of what you have in terms of what you can buy with what you take home. That's just a fact. Somebody doing your job 50 years ago, if you'd said to them, what if I gave you 4 times what you get now? They'd say, I'm rich, I'd be so rich, I'd retire early. I wouldn't have to work these long hours. Well, the fact is, you probably work longer hours than you ever imagined you would. But you don't work as hard as your grandparents' generation, who worked 5.5, 6 days a week. You don't work as hard as the little boy we saw who lives on a rubbish tip, who works 7 days a week, from sun up to sundown. He eats the food that he finds on the tip. He wears the clothes that somebody else has thrown out. And what he can sell, he scavenges and sells. He works very hard, but he doesn't earn what you earn. If you earn the average income in this country, Britain, today, you're in the top 4% of income earners. Most of the world would consider you to be rich. That was the first thing we saw last week. The second thing we saw was that it doesn't get us anywhere. The more money we have, the more we want. The more things we have, the more we worry over them. The more money we have, the more things we buy, the faster the thing we buy goes out of fashion. I get a phone. I've hardly got it home before my daughters say to me, oh, that's so old-fashioned, Dad. You need one of these new sparkly phones. My dad's got an HD TV. And by the next World Cup, they'll be selling us 3D TV. As soon as we bring it home, it's out of date. What they'll have after 3D, goodness only knows. But it'll be something wonderful, and we will hardly know how we could live without it. And so we looked, and we found that the Bible says, command rich people not to put their hope in their wealth, but to put your hope in God. Because God gives you the wealth you've received. The money you have is because God placed you where you are today. And He has a plan for how you should use that money. You can use it any way you want. But God has a purpose for giving us the wealth we have. He didn't mean us to waste it. He didn't mean us to fritter it away on things which will not bring us satisfaction. He meant us to have life as it's meant to be. And God's plan is that you should use the wealth you have to have the most satisfying and fulfilling life that you could have. So let's look at what rich people have that they could use. The Bible says, command rich people to do good, to be rich in good deeds. I'll put that up on the screen for those of you at home. Command rich people to do good, to be rich in good deeds. So, you have time on your hands. One of the things that rich people have that poor people don't have is that you have time, spare time, extra time, time when you don't need to be earning money. I know you say, David, I don't have much time. I'm so busy. My boss keeps my nose to the grindstone. Well, I know. But however awful your boss is, I bet he doesn't make you work a full day. Not like the little boy on the rubbish tip, that's for sure. You're not working from sun up to sundown. I get up before the sun rises, David. In the winter, it's dark when I go to work and it's dark when I come home. Yes, but you have an electric light. And when you get home, you sit with your feet up and you relax. And you know what some bosses do? And I don't know if your boss does this, but I bet he does. Or she does. They say, you've worked so hard the last few days, you can have tomorrow off the whole day. You don't need to come to work on Saturday or Sunday. And for some of you, you get both days off. How good's that? You get both days off. And some bosses, and some of you are in this situation, some bosses say you've worked so hard, you can take a whole week and not come to work. And you can do that 4, maybe 5 times a year. Are you allowed to do that? You are? Well, congratulations. That's because your boss is very kind to you and says you can have a week off, and I'll pay you. You still get paid, don't you, on that week off? You can take extra weeks. You can take extra weeks and not get paid, but you get 5 weeks when you can do anything you want and you don't have to go to work. Well, that's fantastic. And what do you do with that? You spend your time planning what you're going to do with that week's holiday. You could use one of those 5 weeks. Do you think it possible you could do something good with it? Or maybe that Saturday or Sunday, you could do something good with it. Is that possible? You see, you have some spare time. You'd forgotten about it till I just mentioned it. But you have some spare time. I'll tell you what most people do with their time off. They spend their time planning what they're going to do on their holiday. I love planning holidays. I go on the internet and I'm looking for flights and the cheapest flights and the way to get there most effectively. Do you do that? Most of the men do. None of the women do. The women get a brochure. Women get a brochure, they look through and go, oh, wouldn't it be nice to go there? Oh, look, the picture looks beautiful. The weather's always nice there. It isn't always nice when you can afford to get there. Or when you do get there, somebody's having a hurricane. Or some oil's got washed up on the shore. But you go. Or maybe you go to the theatre or the cinema or out for a meal. And when you come home you say, oh, we went to the theatre. I couldn't really hear. The play wasn't very good. It was okay, but the lead actor, he was really full of himself. The woman who was taking the role, oh, she just didn't. Not for me, anyway. Have you done that? Go to the pictures? It was rubbish. Oh, I thought it was so good. I saw the trailer. 45 seconds, it looked so exciting. It turned out they'd put the whole 90 minutes excitement in the whole film, they'd put into that 45-second trailer.